From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Well, the heat has arrived for most of Northern California, with the exception, of course, the coast, right? Of course, you're dealing with those cooler temperatures, but the heat wave for Northern California does peak this weekend. There's going to be the potential for some record-breaking heat for some of the inland areas and the mountains, but next week, temperature is not as hot. We're going to see a bit of a drop in those temperatures. So for tonight, inland is going to be fairly mild. In fact, only dropping down to the low 60s, cooler for the coast in the mid 50s, but over 100 degrees for many of the inland areas. And of course, that's going to be the case for Trinity County. In fact, we're getting close to 110 degrees for that daytime high, especially in Weaverville. Hayfork won't be too far behind. And Lewiston, yeah, about 108 degrees. You get the idea, it's going to be hot. That's what it looks like when we're talking about heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. This is essentially in effect through the weekend. By next week, temperatures will start to drop, as you see that in the temperature trend for Weaverville. There is the heat over the weekend, but you see quite a drop actually, even though it's still going to be hot next week. Not nearly as hot as the 108 to 107. But you see how the temperatures dip, and then they kind of go back up just a little bit going into Thursday and Friday of next week. Now here's the reason why. Of course, here's the bubbly heat over this weekend. That pushes eastward. And the reason why? Well, thanks to this guy right here, thanks to another reinforcing shot of cool air coming in behind that. And that's pretty much just keeping that heat to the south and east. Now that's through next Tuesday. Now watch what happens as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. You see how that heat kind of expands northward. Essentially, you think of the center of that heat, the center of that dome of heat, which is right here. The center of that, as it expands and gets larger and stronger, it expands. So you have the main heat in the center, and then the heat kind of expands outward. And as a result, many of us do begin to see temperatures increase. But the major heat and the major increase will be if that moves right on top of us. So yes, this expanding is getting larger, and we're seeing our temperatures increase at the end of next week, but it's not going to be a major increase. So we take a look at Futurecast, and we're actually going to see some clearing off and on over the next several afternoons for the coast. Some of us seeing more than others, some of us may not see any clearing at all. Just depends on where you are. That's Saturday. We take you into Sunday morning. There's still some fog and clouds out there, and that'll be the case even into Sunday afternoon. And take a look at the wave heights. We're actually going to see those wave heights increase as we go into Saturday. So if you are a fisherman, if you are a boater, just know that those wave heights are going to be increasing here over the weekend. Here's a marine forecast for your Saturday. Winds from the northwest at 5 to 10 knots, waves from the north at 6 feet at 7 seconds, and from the west at 2 feet at 11 seconds. No alerts at this point. Here's your Trinity County fair forecast. Not so fair, is it? Notice the background I put that evening background, because what I would recommend during heat waves like this, if you want to go to an event, the best time would be probably in the evening and in the nighttime hours. That's when the temperatures begin to drop, and especially in the mountains. However, I did get a response from someone who does live in Hayfork and in the Hayfork area, mentioning that at the fairgrounds there is plenty of shade. So if you do insist on going during the day on Saturday or Sunday, just know that you can cool off in some shade. They'll have some shade out there. Not to mention, just drink plenty of water and stay hydrated, and watch your neighbors. Watch over your friends and family to make sure they're okay as well. Drink plenty of water. Don't forget the sunscreen out there. Wear light, loose-fitting clothes. And as I mentioned, shade is a good break if you can get that whenever you can. Take a look at your forecast for tonight. We're dropping down into the mid-40s, give or take, for Trinity County. Upper 50s, low 60s inland, and in the mid-50s for those overnight lows along the coast. We take a look at that Saturday forecast. There is that heat for Trinity County. Pretty hot even for the inland areas. In fact, 104 for Hoopa, 105 in Willow Creek. And there it is, the cooler weather along the coast. Even Trinidad, not that bad at about 72, 75 for Klamath, 64 for Eureka and Fortuna, a high of about 68 degrees. So your 7-day forecast, yeah, the peak of the heat wave for the inland areas and the mountains is this weekend. But see how the temperatures are dropping for next week, but there's that slight increase toward the end of next week. And your 7-day forecast for Eureka, well, really no big surprises here, no big changes. Temperature's actually dropping a bit. It should be in the low 60s by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday of next week.